Hi, and happy day 7 of Coping with the Holidays. This talk is called Yuletide Timings rather than tithings, because when we can have good timing of when we bring up issues or address concerns or have difficult conversations, we can also give others a gift and give ourselves a gift. So I'm noticing a theme in these 12 days of coping is that every time we learn to deal with something in a better way, when we learn to cope with something in a better way, we also give a gift. So it's coping, but it's also a gift that you give yourself, and it's a gift that you can give others. And today is about the art of good timing. And so before I get into timing, about when to practice bringing things up and how you bring things up, I just want to acknowledge that you only have a limited amount of time. Time is not limitless. And yesterday I did a post about about compassionate communication, and I was saying that one of the most compassionate things we can communicate is that I am here. So I just wanted to share a caveat about being there for someone, being here for other people, is that you don't have to be here or there for endless amounts of time. So being able to be intentional about how you spend time, and that you can be not just intentional about how much time you spend with people and how and spend in what you do and what you say, but that you can be intentional about how much time. So when you give quality time to people and you're fully present, the amount of you don't necessarily need to spend a whole bunch of time, because the amount of time, even though it might be short, can be enhanced with value. So the first one about the art of timing is that understanding that sometimes when something happens and we feel like upset about something, or we've got a beef about something that someone did or said, is that our tendency is to think about it immediately. We may not say anything in the moment, but we are thinking about it and feeling about it immediately. And if we're a person that wants to some people, we already talked about people that don't say anything, that kind of push stuff down. But if you're a person, there's also this another type of person who has more of a volatile conflict style, and that type of person, when they have conflict or they feel upset about something or they feel injustice by something, they feel like they need to express it right away and may not necessarily consider the art of their timing. And this is true for people that have this particular combative conflict style, but it can be true for other people as well. Depending on the relationship, is that when something happens that bothers you, you feel like you want to bring it up right away, you can't wait, you want to express what's on the top of your mind. And so two of the challenges that happen when we do that is that, number one, we're usually reacting to what we're feeling, and the reaction may not be what addresses what's most significant to us about that interaction. And the other thing is that we're not considering the timing of, is that person available or ready to receive what you're hearing. And I love the idea of, when we communicate to other people, we not only need to consider our own needs of the person that's expressing the communication, but we have to consider, is this the right medicine that this other person needs? So the communication, I said yesterday, communication is food. Is this food that you're giving the person something that they're going to swallow? Is this food that you're giving the other person, is it nurturing to them? Is it the medicine that they need? So to consider, not just yourself, but to consider the other person, to consider what's at the heart of what you need from this communication. And the other thing is to understand that all of this does not have to happen immediately. And so I love this idea of, when I was in my I took a class on Eastern philosophy when I was in college, and I like the way that he said that, we think about life as like a circle of opportunity as opposed to linear opportunity. So we often think when we need to bring something up and we need to address it, if we don't address it immediately, that the moment is going to pass or our point won't be as strong. But another idea of looking at this is that opportunity is cyclical. So there is no such thing as a missed opportunity. And I really like to challenge people to find that if you wait to take the time to figure out what's really at the root of this, you'll do yourself a favor, you'll do the conversation and the other person a favor, but you'll also recognize that that opportunity will always present itself again. Maybe not in the exact same way, but if somebody disrespected you at the dinner table, 10 years ago, I can guarantee that that person is probably going to do something similar that's going to disrespect you or make you feel disrespected later. And when that happens, you can take the opportunity to address disrespect. Overall, you don't have to go back to 10 years ago. And one of the things that helps us to not have to go back to the past and not keep having to bring up a laundry list of ideas is to be able to get clear on what your underlying need is. So I'm going to share Marshall Rosenthal's nonviolent communication steps as a way of being able to know this 4-part communication so that you can start to pause the next time you feel like you need to address something with someone and get to the root of what this is about for you. So the first part is about just understanding what is it that's happening in the actual situation. So that actually might be what happened, what somebody did, what you did, what was said, what were the situational, environmental factors that were contributing to it, like maybe something fell, maybe there was an accident, so just describing the actual information or facts about the situation, number one. And understand that when we describe the facts and what actually happened without what you think or feel about what happened, just getting clear on the facts, you'll find that there's always a difference between how people perceive what happened and what the situation is. Number two, then you can get into what your thoughts and what your feelings are about what happened. And you can also be willing to hear from the other person about what they think and what they feel about the situation that happened. And number three is to get clear on the value that you have that causes that feeling or that thought to happen. And so I'll share with you an example of something that happens for me. So I know that for me, sometimes in situations where I'm having a conversation with someone and I notice that they're talking a lot or they're even raising their voice or they are kind of interrupting or talking over me, that I might tend to just let them talk. And sometimes when I stop talking and I'm just looking at you waiting to finish, sometimes people experience me as being judgmental or I'm being condescending because I'm just looking at you maybe my face could be a little bit better while I'm waiting for you to finish, but that they'll perceive you're judging me or you're thinking something about me inside your mind, and really what's happening for me in that situation is that I value, I'll go through my thoughts. My thought is that this person, it's really important for this person to be heard and to communicate. And while I'm doing that, I'm also feeling a little bit there's not space for what I want to say. And the value that causes me to think and feel those things is that I have a value of being heard. So I have a value of being heard and I have a value of listening. And so when I think that someone isn't listening to me, I'm going to stop talking and I'm actually going to start listening to them. And I need to be able to know to trust that somebody is listening to me before I feel comfortable really sharing my sincerest thoughts and ideas. And so my need might be that the person does something or says something to show me that they're listening if they want me to authentically or freely communicate or participate in the conversation. So the 4 things are, again, and these are the 4 steps to nonviolent communication. It's also the idea of how we can resolve conflict and differences. And I think I'll probably share more about this because it's really some really great information. But the 4 steps are, number 1, be aware of what the situation is and even share what you think the situation is, what's happening. And these are just all the information, all the facts. And this is aside and regardless of what you think and what you feel about what actually happened. So what actually happened? What was said, what was done, what happened? Number 2 is what you think and what you feel about what happened. And also be, like I said, always be willing to hear what the other person says about this. Number 3, what is your value that causes you to think or feel this way? And from that value, you can start to understand what your need is. And that need is the most important thing to communicate in a conversation, and it's also the way to resolve differences. And when we can use our time in our communication to talk about what we need and what our values are, we really, 1, decrease the amount of time that we spend talking about BS. Number 2, we make and we enhance the intimacy of our conversation. And number 3, we allow people to really get us on a deep level and really be able to give us what we need. So let me know what you think, or if you've done any work around NVC. I would love to hear about your experiences or any resources that you have around this. Let me know again what you most love and loathe about the holidays, and I will be back next week with our next day. We'll be on day 8 of coping with the holidays. Until then, happy Friday, and I'll see you then.